sort of the story.
Woo! Halloween edition.
Spooky.
Scary.
Story.
That will make you say,
Oh no!
and I'm the Grim Reaper named Janey.
And I'm evil Santa Claus named Max.
And the Grim Reaper and evil Santa Claus are here to tell you fairy tales, folk tales, and mythology. Ooh.
And also, for now, you are here.
Oh my god, we are so on point. Not a second of that was pre-planned.
Killing it.
Wow.
Killing it.
Killing it. Guys, happy Halloween.
Mwahaha, happy Halloween.
Mwahaha, happy Halloween.
And a mwahaha to you as well.
Oh, and a mwahaha to you as well. You know what's kind of stupid?
What?
This episode is coming out on the 24th just because of how our episodes work.
Mm-hmm.
But also, that's okay.
Yeah.
Happy early Halloween.
Now you have time to listen to this episode, learn the stories, and then on Halloween you can scare all your friends with them.
That's right. Something you didn't know about the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper comes early. It's a condition.
I'm a little bit lost as far as this bit, I'll be honest.
This isn't a bonus episode. I don't have to talk like that. So, anyway, hi guys. Welcome to our Halloween episode. I don't know if you could tell from before, but we're going to be telling you some spooky stories today. Before we do that, Max, tell them how they can give us some money so that we can buy some candy.
Well, Janey, if they'd like to give us a little money, they can join us on Patreon,
Woo!
the website for patrons of us, Janey and Max.
That's true. But where would they find this Patreon?
Well, they can find a link in the show notes for this episode and every episode. For $3 a month, you can join us on the Discord, which is just a fun little chat zone that we hang out in with all of our spooky ghoulies.
Yeah, and that makes you Team Troll, which all spooky ghoulies are.
Yeah, every ghoulie is a troll.
Yeah.
Or for $7 a month, you get access to a full-length bonus episode every single month, as well as the back catalog of bonus episodes. Janey told a very spooky story for October. I forgot that it was the October bonus episode, and mine wasn't spooky, but
It was a really fucking good story, though. I was re-listening to it, and I was as riveted on the re-listen and the edit.
Oh.
So, like, really fucking good episode.
Pretty good.
Our September episode, though, was very spooky on both counts. They were both, like, spooky stories that you could tell children.
Yeah.
Like campfire, fun, sleepover, spooky stories.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to get spooked, go join our Patreon.
Or hang out here in this episode, where we're gonna spook you.
Oh! Actually, this episode, we're gonna spook you.
Listen, if you're a child, get the fuck out of here.
Go away. It's not for you.
If you don't want to get spooked, get the fuck out of here.
Stay here, though. Give us a little chance. We might change your mind.
Nope, it's gonna be too spooky for you because you're a little wuss.
Wow. A couple of babies.
Wow.
Here for the treats, not the tricks, are ya?
We're here for a scary sleepover, and I'm sorry, it's 8:30 and you're already calling your mom to come pick you up?
Wow, not a ghoul's ghoul, are ya? Take that to the grave. Good. Excellent plug for the Patreon. I think that they're all decently spooked and scared. I am preparing for this episode by drinking a nice tall cup of hot chocolate that is very sugary and filled with milk, and so it's making me cough a lot. It's in a death mug. How about you? What are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking licorice tea.
That's going to be so much better for you than mine is. But you know what? We're both in the mood for some scary stories. And I'm going first, Max.
You're going first.
Oh my gosh. And I've got one of my favorite stories of all time to tell you today. Are you ready to be sufficiently scared?
Yes.
Okay, well then I'm going to take a 1 second long break. The only one who'll be scared is me because the breaks make me nervous. We'll be right back. Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
The story I'm going to tell you today is W.W. Jacobs.
www.spookystories.com. #1 selling spooky story.
The story I'm going to tell you today is by W.W. Jacobs. It is The Monkey's Paw.
That sounds fun and lighthearted.
It is quite fun.
I've heard this story, but it's been a really long time, so I'm really excited.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm scared, which I guess means I'm ready.
Let's set the scene with a thunderclap. Quote, "Without, the night was cold and wet, but in the small parlor of Laburnum Villa, the blinds were drawn and the fire burned brightly. Father and son were at chess, the former, who possessed ideas about the game involving radical changes, putting his king into such sharp and unnecessary perils that it even provoked comment from the white-haired old lady knitting by the fire." End quote. Mr. White, who realized too late that he had made a fatal mistake in chess because he was playing it too hot and loose, desperately wanted to distract his son from seeing this move. So he said, "Hark, at the wind!" And his son, Herbert, said, "Yeah, I hear it." And then he stretched out his hand and he said, "Checkmate." They were waiting for a visitor, but as the wind roared outside in the miserable cold, Mr. White thought out loud that he couldn't imagine their guest was coming tonight in this weather. Quote, "That's the worst of living so far out. Of all the beastly, slushy, out-of-the-way places to live in, this is the worst. Pathway's a bog, and the road's a torrent. I don't know what people are thinking about. I suppose because only 2 houses on the road are let, they think it doesn't matter." Of course, he was really getting worked up over the game, which he had just lost, and his wife said soothingly, "Don't worry, dear, you'll get him next time." And Mr. White looked up sharply just in time to see a knowing glance between Mrs. White and her son, and, quote, "The words died away on his lips, and he hid a guilty grin in his thin gray beard." The gate banged loudly outside, and heavy footsteps could be heard coming toward the door. The old man jumped up and opened the door. He greeted the visitor heartily and led him into the room. It was Sergeant Major Morris. I'm going to call him either Sergeant Major or Morris.
Sure.
Or maybe Old Soldier.
Or Sergeant Major Morris.
Sometimes Visitor. He's going to have a couple of names. You're going to have to keep up.
I'll do my best.
The Sergeant Major shook hands and sat in the preferred seat by the fire as his host got out whiskey and tumblers and put a small copper kettle on the fire. By the 3rd glass of whiskey, his eyes were finally starting to clear, which has not been my experience, but okay. And he began to talk to the family, telling them stories of, quote, strange scenes and doughty deeds, of wars and plagues and strange peoples. Mr. White heard these stories and commented that he'd love to go to India just for once, just to look around for a bit. The Sergeant Major shook his head and sighed, saying, "Better where you are." And he sighed again softly and shook his head once more. "I should like to see those old temples and fakirs and jugglers. What was that you started telling me the other day about a monkey's paw or something, Morris?"
Title of story.
Title of story. The Sergeant Major said, Nothing worth hearing anyway." But the mention of a monkey's paw had piqued Mrs. White's curiosity, and the Sergeant Major reluctantly said, "Well, it's just a bit of what you might call magic, perhaps." His audience leaned forward eagerly, and he sighed again, putting the empty glass to his lips, then setting it down again. Mr. White filled it for him while he began. "To look at, it's just an ordinary little paw, dried to a mummy." And he took something out of his pocket, and he held it out. Mrs. White gasped and drew back with a grimace on her face, but her son, Herbert, took it straight away, staring at it curiously. He passed it to his father, who asked why this was so special. The Sergeant Major explained that it had had a spell put on it by an old fakir, a very holy man. He had wanted to show how fate ruled people's lives, and that anyone who tried to interfere with fate would come to regret it. So he had put a spell on the paw so that 3 separate men could each have 3 wishes from it. He was so serious as he told this story that when the Whites laughed at that, he jumped a little. Herbert said, "Well, why don't you have 3, sir?" And the soldier regarded him the way someone who had years and years of experience and trauma would look at a presumptuous youth who's being a little shit. And he said, "I have." And his face went pale.
Oh.
Mrs. White asked if he had really had all 3 wishes granted, and the Sergeant Major nodded, glass tapping against his strong teeth. She asked if anyone else had wished, and he told her that yes, the first man had had his 3 wishes. He didn't know what the first two had been, but the third was for death. And that's how he had gotten the paw. The story was ridiculous, but his grave demeanor made them all go completely silent. Finally, old Mr. White asked if he had gotten his 3 wishes, why he still held on to the paw. It was no good to him now. The sergeant major told him that he maybe kept it out of fancy. He didn't know. Mr. White was eyeing him keenly. He asked, "If you could have another 3 wishes, would you have them?" And the old soldier said, "I don't know. I don't know." He took the paw in his hand, dangling it between his index finger and thumb. And then suddenly, he tossed it into the fire. Mr. White cried out and snatched it out. But even as he was brushing the paw off, the soldier said solemnly, "Better let it burn." The old man said, "If you don't want it, Morris, give it to me." And his friend, startled, said, "I won't. I threw it on the fire. If you keep it, don't blame me for what happens. Pitch it on the fire again, like a sensible man." But Mr. White shook his head and asked how to do it. The sergeant major told him, "Hold it up in your right hand and wish aloud, but I warn you of the consequences."
Stop telling him how to do it.
Oh, you don't want to do that, but what you're going to want to do. You hold it in your right hand, not your left. But, oh, God, throw it in the fire. Okay, you're going to hold it higher than that? This guy is fishy.
There's some kind of monkey business going on here.
Hey! Mrs. White stood up and began to set for supper, saying, "Sounds like the Arabian Nights. Don't you think you might wish for 4 pairs of hands for me?" The 3 burst into laughter, but as Mr. White held up the paw in his right hand, Morris caught him by the arm and said, "If you must wish for something sensible."
Don't give your wife 8 hands.
Mr. White dropped it back into his pocket and motioned for his friend to sit at the table. Soon, with dinner and conversation changing to more pleasant things, the business of the talisman was completely forgotten. After supper, the 3 sat enthralled as Sergeant Major Morris told more stories about his adventures in India. As they closed the door behind the man at the end of the night, Herbert speculated that a lot of the man's stories were probably made up. And since that was the case, the monkey's paw probably wasn't something to be worried about. Mrs. White asked her husband if he had given him anything for it, and Mr. White kind of blushed a little and was like, "Well, yeah, I gave him a trifle. He didn't want it, but I made him take it, and he pressed me again to throw it away." Herbert's face took on a look of exaggerated horror, and he said, "Why, we're going to be rich and famous and happy! Wish to be an emperor, father, to begin with. Then you can't be henpecked." And at this, Mrs. White began to chase her laughing son around the table, snapping a dishcloth at him. Because he's a little scamp. Mr. White watched this, laughing slightly, but took the paw from his pocket and eyed it. "I don't know what to wish for, and that's a fact," he said slowly. "Seems to me I've got all I want." Herbert thought about it and reminded his father that he still had to pay off the house. "Wish for £200 then. That'll just do it." His father smiled sheepishly, embarrassed that he was about to do anything at all in front of his family, and then he held up his talisman. His son, who almost looked serious except for a small wink at his mother, sat down at the piano and struck a few chords. "I wish for £200, the old man said distinctly. And suddenly, there was a fine crash from the piano, and the old man gave a shuddering cry. As his wife and son ran to his side, he cried, "It moved! As I wished, it twisted in my hands like a snake." Herbert picked up the paw and pointed out that no money had suddenly appeared. They'd probably never see anything of the sort. Mrs. White looked at her husband anxiously and suggested it was just a bit of fancy. He had been freaked out by the story and the shadows being cast by the fire. And the 3 of them sat by the fire again, and the 2 men finished their pipes. Outside, the wind was howling louder than ever. And then, upstairs, a door banged, and it made the nervous old man jump in his seat. Quote, "A silence unusual and depressing settled upon all 3, which lasted until the old couple rose to retire for the night." End quote. As they bade their son good night, Herbert said, "I expect you'll find the cash tied up in a big bag in the middle of your bed, and something horrible squatting up on top of the wardrobe, watching you as you pocket your ill-gotten gains." When they left, Herbert sat alone in the darkness, gazing at the dying fire and seeing faces in it. Soon, though, the images were so vivid that he gave an uneasy laugh and felt around for a glass of water on the table that he could use to douse the fire with. Instead, he grasped the monkey's paw. With a little shiver, he wiped his hands on his coat and went up to bed. The next day was bright and sunny, and Herbert sat at the breakfast table, laughing at his fears. In the warm light of day, the whole thing seemed ridiculous, even more so that they had all been so freaked out by it. They pitched the dirty, shriveled little paw on the sideboard, no longer believing any of the strange stories they had heard. "The idea of our listening to such nonsense," Mrs. White said. "How could wishes be granted in these days? And even if they could, how could 200 pounds hurt anyone?" Herbert laughed and said, "Might drop on his head from the sky." Mrs. White reminded them that Morris had said the wishes were granted so naturally, some people would say it was coincidence. At this, Herbert rose from the table and said, "Well, don't spend it all before I get back. And also, I'm afraid it'll turn you into a mean and avaricious man, and we shall have to disown you." His mother laughed and followed him to the door, watching him walk down the road. She spent the day laughing at how seriously her husband had taken the monkey's paw, and how funny her son had been with his teasing. But of course, that didn't stop her that when the postman knocked on the door, she rushed to the door to see if he had brought her a bunch of money.
Sure.
They sat down for dinner that evening, and she told her husband Herbert would have something funny to say about it all when he got home from work. Mr. White agreed, but insisted that, when he had made the wish, the paw did move in his hand. And Mrs. White said soothingly, "You thought it did." But Mr. White insisted, "I know it did. There was no thought about it. I had just... What's the matter?" But his wife didn't answer. She was watching the window behind Mr. White's back, where a man had appeared at their gate. He was moving so strangely, he was peering at the house nervously as if he was trying to make up his mind to enter or not. Because she was already thinking about 200 pounds, she couldn't help but notice that this man was well dressed. He was wearing this glossy silk hat that looked brand new. He paused at the gate 3 times and then would walk past it. But he came back, and at that 4th time, he put his hand on the gate and with a sudden resolution pushed it open and walked down the path. Mrs. White hurriedly took off her apron and brought the stranger, who looked like he was going to be sick, into the room. He listened as she apologized for the state of the room and her husband's coat, which was what he wore when he worked in the garden. Then she waited for him to tell her what he was doing there. But he was strangely silent for a long time. And finally, he stuttered, I was asked to call. I come from Ma and Megan's." The color drained from her face. Ma and Megan's was where Herbert worked. She asked what had happened, if Herbert was okay. Her husband jumped up and told her to sit down, not to jump to conclusions. He looked up at the stranger and said, "No, you've not brought bad news, sir." The man started to say, "I'm sorry," and Mrs. White demanded to know if Herbert had been hurt. And the visitor bowed his head and said, "Badly hurt, but he's not in any pain." She clasped her hands to her heart, exclaiming, "Thank God! Thank God for that!" But then suddenly it dawned on her what he had meant. She caught her breath and turned to her husband, who still hadn't figured it out. He was waiting for the man to continue his explanation. She laid a trembling hand on his, and there was a long silence. "He was caught in the machinery," the visitor said, in a low voice. Mrs. White repeated the words, "Caught in the machinery. Yes." There was another long silence. Mr. White took his wife's hand in his own, the way he used to when they were still courting, and then he turned to the visitor and said, "He was the only one left to us. It is hard." The stranger coughed and slowly rose, walking to the window. "The firm wished me to convey their sincere sympathy with you in your great loss. I beg that you understand I am only their servant and merely obeying orders." The old couple didn't reply. They were staring, devastated, into space. "I was to say that Ma and Megan's disclaim all responsibility. They admit no liability at all, but in consideration for your son's services, they wish to present you with a certain sum as compensation." Mr. White dropped his wife's hand and leapt to his feet, a look of horror on his face. He asked with a shaking voice, "How much?" And the visitor said, 200 pounds. He barely heard his wife scream. He smiled faintly, put out his hands like a sightless man, and dropped to the floor. Quote, "In a huge new cemetery, some 2 miles distant, the old people buried their dead and came back to a house steeped in shadow and silence." End quote. The whole thing happened so quickly, they didn't even realize it at first. They just kept waiting at home for something else to happen, for something to lighten this load that was, quote, "too heavy for old hearts to bear." But days passed, and that hope soon turned to resignation. He was never coming home. He was dead. They barely said a word to each other. They had nothing to talk about. About a week after that, the old man woke up in the middle of the night, stretched out his hand, and found himself alone. The room was completely dark, and he could hear weeping coming from the window. He raised himself up and listened. Then he said, "Come back. You'll be cold." His wife, still weeping, said, "It is colder for my son." He went back to sleep after that, to the sound of her weeping. He dozed for a while, fitfully, until he was suddenly woken up by a scream from his wife. "The paw!" she cried wildly. "The monkey's paw!" He stood up, alarmed, asking what she was talking about. Where was it? What had happened? And she ran to him, shaking him, saying, "I want it. You've not destroyed it." He told her it was in the parlor, and asked why. She cried, then laughed, and bent over, kissing his cheeks. She had only just thought of it. Why hadn't she thought of it before? Why hadn't he thought of it? They still had 2 wishes left. He had only used 1. Mr. White was horror-struck. Hadn't 1 been enough? But no, it hadn't. They needed 1 more. She told him to go downstairs and get the monkey's paw, wish their boy alive again. He sat up in bed, flinging the covers off of his shaking limbs. She had gone mad. But she was panting now, begging him to go get it, to wish him back. She wanted him back. He struck a match and lit a candle. He told her to go back to bed. She didn't know what she was saying. "We had the first wish granted," said the old woman feverishly. "Why not the second?" "A coincidence," the old man stammered. "Go and get it and wish," she insisted, shaking with excitement. He stared at her, and when he spoke, his voice was shaking. Herbert had been dead for 10 days. And besides that, he didn't want to tell her this, but when Mr. White had identified his body, he had only been identifiable through his clothing. It had been too terrible for her to see before. Why would she want to see him now? "Bring him back," cried the old woman, dragging him to the door. "Do you think I fear the child I have nursed?" He made his way to the parlor in the darkness, and then to the mantelpiece. The talisman was there, and he was struck with a horrible fear that some unspoken wish in his heart would bring his mutilated son to the room before he could escape. He caught his breath and realized he had lost his direction to the door. His brow was cold with sweat. He felt his way to the table and then groped along the wall until he found himself in the hallway, monkey's paw grasped in his hand. When he made it back to the bedroom, his wife's face seemed to change. It was pale and expectant and looked unnatural in the dim light of the room. He was afraid of her. "Wish," she cried in a strong voice. "It is foolish and wicked. Wish," she repeated. He raised his hand and whispered, "I wish my son alive again." The monkey's paw fell to the floor. He sank, trembling, into a chair as his wife rushed to the window and raised the blinds. And they sat there like that until he was chilled through with cold. The candle burned all the way to the end, throwing pulsating shadows on the ceilings and walls, until at last it flickered and died. The old man felt immense relief that the wish had failed. He crept back to bed, and after a minute or 2, his wife came silently to the bed and laid next to him. And neither of them spoke, but lay quietly, listening to the ticking of a clock. Quote, "A stair creaked, and a squeaky mouse scurried noisily through the wall." The darkness was terrible, and soon the man screwed up his courage and found a box of matches, striking one and going downstairs for a candle. At the foot of the stairs, the match went out, and he paused to strike another. And that's when he heard it. A knock, so quiet it was barely audible, sounding on the front door. The matches fell from his hand. He stood frozen with fear until he heard it again. At this, he turned and ran back to the room, slamming the door closed behind him. A third knock sounded through the house. "What's that?" his wife asked, starting up. The man told her it was just a rat. A rat had passed him on the stairs. It was nothing to worry about. But his wife was listening intently. Another loud knock resounded in the house. "It's Herbert! It's Herbert!" she screamed. She ran to the door, but her husband caught her by the arm, holding tightly. He begged her, "Don't go downstairs. Don't do this." But she was crying and screaming, "It's my boy! It's Herbert! I forgot! It is 2 miles away! What are you holding me for? Let go! I must open the door!" As they struggled, there was another knock, and another. The old woman wrenched free and ran from the room. Her husband followed her to the landing, calling after her, begging her, "Don't let it in!" The knocks were getting more insistent now. He heard the chain rattle back, and the bottom bolt slowly drawn from its socket. Then he heard his wife's voice, straining and panting, "The bolt! Come down! I can't reach it!" But he was on his knees, groping wildly on the floor in the dark, trying to find the monkey's paw before that thing could get into the house. The knocks were sounding wilder now, and he heard the scraping of a chair as his wife sought to reach the top bolt. He heard the creak of the bolt as it slid back too, and at this, he rushed and found the monkey's paw and frantically breathed his last wish. And all at once, the knocking ceased. The echoes of it were still in the house. Quote, He heard the chair drawn back and the door opened. A cold wind rushed up the staircase, and a long, loud wail of disappointment and misery from his wife gave him the courage to run down to her side, and then to the gate beyond. The street lamp flickering opposite shone on a quiet and deserted road. End quote. The end. The Monkey's Paw.
Spooky.
What'd you think?
Spooky.
I think that's one of the scariest stories ever.
Yeah.
It's so upsetting.
It's really good.
So here's some notes about W.W. Jacobs. William Wymark Jacobs.
Worldwide Jacobs.
Dale. The true Mr. Worldwide. W.W. Jacobs was born on September 8th, 1863, and he died September 1st, 1943, in London, England. This story, The Monkey's Paw, first appeared in Harper's Monthly, and later that same year was reprinted in his short story collection, The Lady of the Barge, in 1902. It's been included in more than 70 collections, from horror anthologies to collections of classic literature. It has also been turned into a play, made into 8 separate movies, and was even parodied on shows like The Simpsons and Rick and Morty. Stephen King cited The Monkey's Paw as the main inspiration for his novel Pet Sematary, and it's also referenced in a ton of other things that Stephen King has written, because he loved the story. Loves the story. Overall, the terrifying themes, excellent writing style, and relatability of the main characters have made this story an enduring horror classic that everyone should read, because the actual writing of it is brilliant.
I know this isn't the point of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Any time a story has wishes, I am so frustrated at how bad people are at making wishes.
Tell them how to do it.
Fucking. Ugh. First of all, the second wish, bringing your son back. Specify. I want Herbert back unharmed, alive, as he was before he died, hale and healthy, and
yeah. What about just like, I want to go back to before we made the wishes?
Yeah. Or
no, that would be destroyed too, because you can go back to any time before you made the wishes, you know?
Yeah. It could be like, you could wish, I wish I had never made any of these wishes, but that I remembered not to make any wishes. Fucking.
Yeah.
I know that the point of the story
that
is
being
that...
said, if he had made that wish, then they could have gone back. The guy would have presented the monkey's paw to him again, and Herbert could have been like, I want it. It's mine. Like, I want this thing. And then they could have just repeated with Herbert, you know?
Or, I mean, fucking honestly, it could be like, I wish the monkey's paw had burned in that fire.
That's good. Should have done that.
Just, like, even a small amount of forethought. But I also understand the point of the story is, like...
It was also 1902, you know?
Yeah. Yes, and this is also, like, this is the prototype of this kind of story in a lot of ways, of, like, the sort of twisted wish.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I have, like, the benefit of...
having read this story in particular.
Yes. Yeah, 120 years of people, like, playing off of this idea. But, yeah, I mean, obviously, the concept is the spell that's placed on it by the fakir or whatever of, if you try to mess with fate, bad things will happen. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously the point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I would be better at making wishes than these people.
I asked the Discord I don't know if they did it, but I asked them to give us wishes that we could try to ruin. Mm-hmm. So maybe at the end of this episode, we could try to ruin a couple of their wishes.
Oh my God.
We can try to find the plot hole.
Listen, I have such a, like, lawyerly mind, I think, of, like, I'm like, you've got to be very specific in your phrasing. And I, like, look for the loopholes and everything.
So let's do it at the end of this.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to take a little break and then can come back and tell me a scary story?
Yes. I would be a menace if I were a genie. Ugh.
I mean, as a genie, yes. Confronted with a genie? Yes.
I would be a menace for a genie and of a genie. Both of, like, if I was the genie or if I encountered a genie and had wishes, both, I would be
Yeah, you would get
such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you would get like arrested and sent to Janey court. Like they would punish you. You wouldn't even have a wish. They're like, not for her. She's going to Janey jail. All right, we're going to take a little break and then we'll be right back.
Okay, Janey.
Okay, Max.
The story that I have for you today comes from a collection called Are You Scared Yet? Haunted Houses by a personal favorite of mine, Robert D. Sansucci. Yeah, you fucking knew.
Yeah.
When I had to find a scary story, of course I was going to go to Robert D. Sansucci.
Robert D. Sansucci should have been as prevalent in my childhood as R.L. Stein was. And I'm actually confused as to why he wasn't, considering how many books he has.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the exact same vein as R.L. Stein.
Yeah. I would say his books have more of like a folkloric basis, and I also think they're scarier.
Yeah, because R.L. Stein was also making up stuff that were specifically for kids, you know?
Yeah. Robert D. Sansucci, one of the best to ever do it. I'm very excited. I have a couple of stories from this book that I might use eventually, but the story that I have for you today is called Tea House. There is a boy named Larry Hamada. He lives in Harrisport, Oregon, which has a really large Japanese-American population. And he has a fascination with an old tea house that is in one of the back corners of McClendon Park in Harrisport. In Japanese, it's called a chashitsu, a tea house. And it's this beautiful old tea house in a very traditional Japanese style in this like modern park. And the story of the tea house is that it was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jirohei. They used to be bulb farmers. They, out in eastern Oregon, they grew tulips and daffodils and gladioli at a bulb farm. And then when the farm got bigger and more successful, they sold it off and they moved to Harrisport to follow the dream that they had had since moving to the United States, which was to open a tea house. This tea house is gorgeous. It's surrounded on all sides by these willows and like a stony brook. Stone lanterns light the stepping stone pathway that twists through the gardens. And there, at the center of the garden, is a massive cherry tree that Mr. Jirohei had imported from Japan, and it was his pride and joy. This was part of their dream, was that they wanted to have a cherry tree in their tea house. And on warm afternoons, he would sit out underneath the cherry tree and he would play a wooden flute. And it was said that people could hear him all across the park as they were walking around. Larry remembers also that in the few times that he's talked to people about it, his mom and dad had mentioned that the cherry trees, cherry blossom trees, are often used as sort of headstones for samurai because the cherry tree blooms really brightly and beautifully and has an incredible smell to it, but it blooms very briefly. And a lot of times samurai were young men, warriors, who ended up, dying in battle. And so the idea was that they burned very brightly, but for a very short time. So a lot of times, a samurai who was killed in battle, rather than giving him a headstone, they would bury him near the battlefield and plant a cherry tree at the head of the grave. So a lot of cherry trees are supposedly the graves of samurai who died in noble warfare. The year that Larry was born, there was an attempted holdup at the tea house. Someone came in right before they closed the tea house and held up Mr. and Mrs. Jirohei, and something went wrong, and whoever the thief was shot Mr. Jirohei.
Oh, no.
By the time the ambulances and police got there, Mrs. Jirohei was just hunched over her husband's body, sobbing. She was completely incomprehensible. They couldn't get any information from her about who had been there or what had happened. And when they tried to remove his body, she went wild and she started trying to fight the police and the EMS, trying to keep her husband's body with her. It was sort of like an unsolved mystery for a very long time. Larry's watched YouTube videos about oh, here's the true story of what might have happened at the tea house or whatever. But after Mr. Jirohei's body is taken away. Mrs. Jirohei locks herself in the tea house and is not seen again. People come a few days later to check on her, and there's no body, but she's not there. And nobody has any idea where she could be. There's an old apartment that they rent out that's near the park. They check there. They don't see anything. There's no sign of her in the tea house. And eventually the tea house passes into the ownership of the Jirohei's cousins, who also live kind of in the Oregon area. They move out to Harrisport, and they start to try and remodel the tea house to sort of get it back into working condition so that they can reopen it. Because, they say like this was Mr. and Mrs. Jirohei's dream. They would not want this place to be closed. So kind of in their memory, let's reopen this place. But as soon as they start trying to remodel, things start going very wrong. The workmen who are in the tea house remodeling things, their tools start going missing. Everything from like hammers and nails to like power tools just disappear. And eventually things get worse. The scaffolding that's around the outside of the building to try and repair a hole in the roof completely collapses. And one of the workmen who was standing on the scaffolding broke his leg. A carpenter who was there working on the walls late one night ended up leaving and refusing to ever come back. He said that he had heard sounds in the walls, like something moving. And these are very thin walls as well. There isn't really a whole lot of space for anything to move. But he's like, I swear to God, I heard something in the walls and I don't know what it was. And the final straw for him, what made him leave and not come back, he said that he was walking through the house at night and he saw a shape out of the corner of his eye as big as a person that seemed to be scrambling across the wall behind him. And he dropped what he was doing and ran out of the tea house and refused to return. 'Cause you would.
Yeah, no, thank you.
'Cause you would.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's a very spooky place at this point. It's this, it's still in the middle of this park, but it sort of has this pallor of, a terrible thing happened here. And this place that was once sort of a place of serenity and love, and it was like this dream that has been realized by this couple, like a couple of months have passed now, and it has like an oppressive silence about it. And every sound, like the sound of the water in the brook, is no longer the sound of like the beautiful sound of nature. Now every sound in the house feels oppressive and scary. 2 days before the tea house is set to reopen, the husband of the Jirohei cousins goes out to run a couple of errands, pick up a few things before the grand reopening. He leaves his wife in the kitchen to finish up a few things there. He comes back an hour later and he finds her collapsed on the floor. He calls an ambulance. She's pronounced dead at the scene with a twisted expression of horror across her face. After the funeral, he puts the tea house up for sale, as well as the apartment in Harrisport, and neither of them sell. More and more time passes, and the rumors about this place grow and grow. Nobody's interested in buying it. And eventually the for sale signs outside of the tea house are replaced with no trespassing and danger signs, so that people will not try to step foot in the tea house. The cherry tree, meanwhile, was left out in the garden and eventually withered and died. Larry is obsessed with this tea house. He grew up in this area, and again, like just a little bit before he was born is when Mr. Jirohei was killed. And so this is like a true crime story from his hometown, and he is so obsessed with it. He goes to the park sometimes and he sits just sort of at the edge of where the tea house area is. There's this low, like bamboo fence that goes around the garden, and he'll just sit near the fence and look at the tea house. And he's a very cautious boy. He is not the kind of person to ever like go in and look or anything, but he does research, he talks to people, he wants to figure out what happened and what is happening at the tea house. Eventually the ownership passed from the Jirohei's cousins back to the city. which they had given the Jiroheis dispensation to build on like city land, make this tea house as a community space and everything, passes back to the city. The city has no intention of doing anything with it. But this is kind of his like pet project, is that he wants to figure out what happened to the Jiroheis. His parents refuse to talk about it. They're very weirded out that he's so interested in this true crime story. He asks some of his neighbors, because, again, this is a really predominantly Japanese-American space, and he asks them, like, hey, did you know the Jiroheis? What happened? Like, do you know anything about the tea house or anything? And most people do not want to talk about it. It is a very, very sad thing that happened in their community. But there is one woman, a very, very old woman named Mrs. Ozaki, who tells him that the one thing that she is absolutely sure of is that everything that went wrong in the tea house when they tried to reopen is because when her husband was killed, Mrs. Jirohei was furious and broken and wanted revenge. And Mrs. Ozaki says that the spirit of Mrs. Jirohei, again, nobody's seen her, they never found her dead or alive, but presumably her spirit, she says that she believes that the spirit has become an angry ghost, and that it is haunting the tea house and just is in there furious and hateful at the idea that someone would come into this space that they had built and hurt her husband. Mrs. Ozaki explains that like these vengeful ghosts are stories that come from Japan, and they are terrifying. Usually they are motivated by whatever kind of turned them into a vengeful ghost. And she specifically says also the worst vengeful ghosts are women.
Yes. Yes, we've seen that time and again.
Time and again.
Yes.
I really appreciate that this story calls it out. They're like, a man who is a vengeful ghost, scary. A woman who is a vengeful ghost, terrifying.
And deadly.
Yeah, absolutely deadly.
Yeah. It does go along with the whole, there's nothing worse than a woman scorned. Nothing like...
hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah. Scored.
Scored. Hell yeah.
Don't you dunk on that woman. She will turn into an angry ghost.
Larry, as I said, too scared to ever go in. Wouldn't even consider it. Mm-hmm. He's like very much like a researcher, and he's trying to figure this out the logical way. He's going through newspaper articles and everything like that. However, something changes that. Katsumi Taka transfers from Seattle. She transfers to Larry's middle school, Uchida Middle School, and immediately they become best friends. She is the opposite of him in a lot of ways. She is rebellious, and she has a reckless streak, but the two of them have so many things in common. They play the same Xbox games, they love the same scary movies and everything, and they are immediately best friends, attached at the hip. He eventually tells her about his ongoing project where he's researching the tea house. And immediately, Kat is like, okay, well, we're going. And Larry's like, we're not going. What do you mean we're going? We're not going. I'm telling you about all this research. I'm doing research about it, Kat. I'm not going to it.
Yeah.
And Kat's like, that's stupid. We're going to go to the tea house and we're going to see what we can figure out at the tea house.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, I mean, maybe someday we can do that. And she's like, no, we're going today.
I'm on her side. This is exactly how I would have dealt with it as a child.
I thought of you so much during this story.
I've gone into so many dark, abandoned places that was just because, well, we're here. We're going in. Somebody invited us in. We're going in.
Awful. You're definitely the Cat and I'm definitely the Larry.
Yeah. That's why we work.
And he's like, well, maybe someday we can go in, right? But I mean, we would have to plan, and I want to do more research about, like, you know, the construction and everything that they were doing, make sure that it's safe in there. And she's like, no, we're going today. We're going to go after school. And he's like, we're not. No, we're not. And she's like, no, we are, because after school, you said your parents don't get home until like 6 o'clock. My aunt doesn't get home until like 7, and she doesn't care if I'm home or not, as long as there's like food ready when she gets home. So I can just like get something ready and then leave again. But like the crosstown bus takes half an hour. We get out of school at 3:30. We can be there by 4, look around, come back before anyone knows that we were gone. And it's not like we're doing anything wrong. we'll just go to the park. It's a park. It's public property, Larry. Larry is very, very nervous, but he does not want to tell Kat that he is scared.
Mm-hmm.
So he is like, all right, well, we'll see. At the end of the school day, they meet outside of the school and they take the crosstown bus to McClendon Park. Partway through town, there are all these high schoolers that all get on the bus at the same time, and Larry gets up to try and like move to the back of the bus and give them the space at the front, and Kat like jerks on his arm to get him to sit down. Mm-hmm. She's like, we're not moving. And all of the high schoolers kind of look at them, and she just looks back at them like, what? And they ignore them.
Yeah.
Eventually all of the high schoolers and the teenagers get off and everything, and they ride the last couple of stops. It's in this sort of quiet bus. They finally get to McClendon Park. They get out of the bus, they go into the park, and Larry shows Kat the tea house. In this sort of like late afternoon, it looks rough. Mm-hmm. It looks very haunted and abandoned. The bamboo fence that goes around the entire garden is rotting in places and falling apart, and there are slats falling out of it. And it's mostly honestly held together at this point by the no trespassing and danger signs that are tacked in all around. They can see just inside of the garden a little dry, stony pond bed, which used to be a koi pond, but has since dried up. Larry talked to one boy who said that he had snuck into the garden one time on a dare, and that he had seen the koi pond, and that at the bottom of the koi pond you could see all of the koi skeletons from where the water had been left and dried up. And the boy said that when it started to get dark, the skeletons started to glow in the moonlight, which of course this had like, through rumor and speculation, the story had become like, oh, and you can see the ghosts of the koi, and you can see them swimming around in the moonlight and everything. And then people were like, it actually wasn't koi, it was actually piranhas. And so now you can see the ghosts of and they have these teeth and everything, and they're ghosts and they'll get you. Larry obviously does not believe any of this, but you can see the koi pond just from outside in the park. Darkness is just starting to fall. Kat walks directly up to the bamboo gate and rattles it to test kind of the strength of it. There's a chain that's looped around, but has clearly rusted through in several places. And so she kind of starts testing this gate. It's a little bit too high for them to comfortably climb over. They could if they had to, but it's like, you know, easier if you can just open the door. And she starts kind of like testing the strength of this gate. And they hear a voice behind them call out, and they both whip around, and a park patrol woman says, hey, you kids, get away from there now.
Wow, what a weird accent for this Oregonian woman to have.
You kids,
hey,
get the fuck out of here.
I'm patrolling here. What are you, a couple jamooks? Get away from that gate.
You fucking jabonis.
Come on. Classic Oregon.
Classic Oregon. She starts walking towards them, and Kat opens her mouth to say something back, and Larry just grabs her wrist and like starts walking away. And she's like, but I... And he just very sternly walks them back out to the entrance of the park near the bus stop and is like, no, we're not fighting the patrol woman. She sort of sighs heavily. They wait for the bus, and they take the bus back home.
Oh.
They're most of the way back when Kat turns to him and says, we're going back. And Larry's like, we're not going back. We got scolded so
we
bad.
touched the gate. We've had our fun.
She's like, we're going back. And we're going back at night. And we're going to look inside. And he's like, we're not going to do any of that. And she's like, oh, really? I'm pretty sure we are. Because it's, first of all, it's just a building. And also, it'll be fine. And also, you want to know what's in there. So let's just go. And he's like, we're not doing that. And she's like, okay, so what you're telling me is that you're a wuss? You're the biggest wuss in our whole school is what you're telling me right now. You're saying to me, Kat, I'm a wuss. And Larry's like, I'm not a wuss. I just don't think it's a good idea. And she's like, okay, well, is that because you're a wuss? And he's like, fine, we'll go back.
God, it's so easy.
It really is so easy. A few days pass, though, and she doesn't mention anything. And Larry starts to feel like maybe she's kind of moved on from this. But after a few days, he's at home and he's playing a video game and he gets a call on his cell phone and it's from Kat. And she tells him, we're going tomorrow night. And he's like, and she's like, no, we're going tomorrow night. We're going to go out very late. And he's like, but my parents won't let me go out late. And she's like, well, your parents will be asleep because we're going to go out at like 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
My parents will be asleep. Everyone's parents will be asleep. We're going to take the bus. We're going to go downtown. Larry's like, the bus doesn't run that late. And she's like, actually, I checked the bus schedule. And yes, it does. There's a night owl bus. It's like the 33. And it runs all night long. It's slower. It doesn't go, it's not a direct route, but it'll get us there. So we're going to take this night owl bus and we're going to go across town. We're going to go to the tea house. We're going to go inside, check it out. And then we're going to come back home. And then we'll be done with it.
Can you imagine being a bus driver, just seeing a couple of fucking middle schoolers?
They address this.
Okay, good.
She tells Larry to meet her at the corner near his house at the bus stop at 1:07, which is when the bus is supposed to pass Larry's house.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you are, after all, the supreme wuss of Uchida Middle School. The next night, Larry puts together his emergency pack, which... relatable. He fills a backpack with a flashlight, extra batteries, snacks, candles, matches, and also he has a little lucky charm that his grandfather gave him. It's called a Keru charm. It's a little silver frog, and the Keru means to return. I think it's kind of like a pun where it's like a little frog, but it also means to return. Yeah. And the idea is that the charm ensures that you will make it home safely. So he packs this in his little...
convenient.
Yeah. He packs this in his little emergency knapsack. He waits until 1 a.m. and then he sneaks out of the house. He goes to the bus stop on the corner. He sees Kat waiting under the streetlight. She has a little Hello Kitty backpack on as well. And they sort of nod to each other. They silently wait for the bus. The bus pulls up, and the two of them take out their bus passes and climb onto the bus. And the bus driver looks at them, looks at the passes, looks at them, looks at the passes, looks at them, says,
well, okay.
Which is truly shocking to Larry. He's like, this man doesn't care that we're middle schoolers and that it's 1 a.m.
We're children. Where could we be going at 1 a.m?
Yeah, he's like, this guy doesn't care at all. And then he realizes, he's like, oh, this guy runs the night owl bus.
Yeah.
He does not care. He's probably seen weirder stuff than this.
Yeah, just yesterday, a couple of babies came on the bus. One of them was carrying a briefcase. They were both just in their diapers. It was very confusing.
And they didn't even have their bus passes.
Yeah, they held him up with a gun.
Oh my God.
Those babies are criminals.
They are silent on the bus. A couple of people, are on and off the bus as well. There's an unhoused man who is just in the bus to have a little bit of warmth. It seems like he's not really going anywhere. He's just inside. There are two women who are wearing the uniforms of like a big hotel chain, and they're both sort of just tiredly on their way home. They look like they're probably cleaning ladies or something like that, just talking quietly on a seat together. But other than that, the bus is pretty quiet. They ride it all the way down to McClendon Park, and they get out, walk through the gate. They walk through the park. The moon is very, very bright, and there are little like hip height marker lights along the path to help people navigate when it starts to get dark. And so between the two, they're able to pick their way through to the tea house. And the whole time, they have their ears up. They are listening for any kind of patrol person or anyone else who might be in the park at night for any number of nefarious reasons. So they are very careful and slow as they proceed through the park to the tea house. They get to the tea house, and Kat immediately, rather than trying with the gate, she climbs up the sort of bamboo fence and hauls herself over it. Larry's worried that it's going to shatter underneath of her, but she gets over totally fine. And then she stands and waits for him to climb over. He starts climbing over, and his sneaker gets caught in between two of like the bamboo slats, and he panics for a second. He's already like very scared, and then suddenly he's stuck, and he like a little bit starts to hyperventilate, and he's like, I'm stuck. And Kat's like, it's okay. Hey, it's fine. And she like works his sneaker loose from the bamboo fence, and she's like, hey, it's okay. He gets over the fence, and she's like, listen, Get over it. You're fine.
Hey, shut up.
Hey, man. Be cool.
Yeah.
Larry reaches into his backpack and he takes the little carry charm out and he puts it in his jeans pocket, just kind of feeling very nervous in this moonlit tea garden. They slowly proceed down the stepping stone path and they pass the koi pond and he sees these like pale shapes at the bottom. And he does think that he sees in the moonlight, he imagines these like ghostly white shapes in the pond. But when he looks closer, he doesn't see anything. It looks like there might just be some mist going through the park. It's Oregon. As they get further into the garden, Larry becomes very aware of the sounds of the night here. Out in the park, it was the sound of like crickets or, sometimes the whirring sound of a flying insect somewhere nearby, far off sounds of car alarms and cars driving past the park and everything. But as they get further and further into the tea house garden, he notices another sound. And it is this sort of clicking sound. It's a... And he immediately identifies it. He knows what this is. This is a death watch beetle. He knows what they are. They get into houses and they eat them. He says that from everything that he's heard, a swarm of death watch beetles will demolish a house over time as surely as a wrecking ball will. So he's like, the tea house has been abandoned for a long time. These beetles have probably gotten into the walls and are like slowly chewing it to bits. I should have expected this. This is fine. But still, this ticking sound gets louder and louder the closer they get to the tea house, and it sets his teeth on edge. It gets so loud that he can barely hear like the crickets in the park or anything. The only sound that he can hear is this steady, even sort of ticking.
He won't even entertain the fact that it might be dynamite. Wild.
Maybe a cartoon villain with a little a bunch of sticks of dynamite with
attached to a clock
with a bunch of wires and stuff.
Death watch beetles are also the thing that killed the Owen sisters' husbands.
What?
In Practical Magic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you think he also knew about death watch beetles because he really liked Practical Magic?
I think the odds are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah. Kat walks up to the front doors of the tea house and tries to open them, finds that they are locked. She comes back over to Larry and she's like, the doors are locked. And he's like, yeah, the doors are locked. Obviously the doors are locked. They don't want people coming in here. Did you see all the signs that were like, no trespassing, danger, don't come in here? They don't want people to come in here. That's why they lock the doors. Which is why the doors are locked. And she's like, okay, smartass. And she takes off her Hello Kitty backpack and she pulls out from this like little pink plastic backpack a crowbar. Larry's like, oh my God.
I love you.
She walks up to the tea house doors and she wedges the straight end of the crowbar in between them. And with a weirdly practiced motion, pops the lock open and the doors creak open. He's like, where the hell did you learn to do that? And she's like, I watch a lot of TV.
Also, she's from Seattle. They get up to stuff over there.
Yeah, they get up to stuff. Just gotta have a little look-see.
That's where I'm from.
Seattle?
Yeah, Fort Lewis.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was born right there.
Oh.
That's why I can pick locks too.
Oh.
And why I'm constantly calling you a wuss.
To be clear, she's not picking the lock. She's forcing the lock.
Yeah. Classic Seattle.
Classic Seattle. Kat walks into the building and Larry follows behind her, sort of thumbing the little frog charm in his pocket. Inside, it is very dark and very, very wet. All of the boards of the tea house have absorbed the moisture of like the wet Oregon weather, and they are swollen and warped, and everything smells like mildew. Inside the house, they see tatami mats, the bamboo mats, all over the floors. They're kind of in disarray, and a lot of them are rotted pretty severely. So there's a strong smell of like mildewed rice straw. There are a couple of low tables around on the tatami mats in the sort of main entryway area. And then further in, there's a hallway with these like partially open little niches on either side. These are like little like private tea rooms. So they're not actually very private. They have rice paper walls and curtains hanging over the doors. Most of these are shredded just from time. As they walk in, Larry is holding the flashlight, and Kat's like, okay, we'll use your flashlight, and then if anything happens, I have my flashlight, so we can switch off.
Yeah.
Smart. Maybe. I would use both, but that's
especially considering he brought extra batteries.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Larry planned.
Yeah. Looks like Kat did too, though.
I mean, yeah, but she didn't know that Larry planned. He was ready, Janey.
Yeah.
For anything that could happen. He follows Kat as she walks down this hallway, and with every step they can hear kind of like the squish of the tatami mats under their feet, as well as this like of the Death Watch beetles. As they pass these little like cubbies, the little private tea rooms, Larry looks inside and you can see the curtains that were once like very, very beautiful and painted are mostly shredded. And then on the inside of the like the rice paper walls of these little rooms, very clearly like paintings and scrolls and writing in traditional Japanese style that have since mildewed to just a blackened mess. Mm-hmm. The further that they get into the tea house, the louder the sound of the beetles becomes. Larry looks down the hallway. He flashes the flashlight down at the end of the hallway, and he sees a small kitchen area. It's kind of a blend of like Western and Eastern styles. There's like a Western style teapot with like Eastern style teacups and everything. Everything is rusted and swollen with the moisture. But the two of them make it down to the kitchen. Kat immediately starts exploring around. She like opens the rusted hinges of the oven and looks inside. There's nothing inside. Larry just uses the flashlight and looks around at everything. There's not really anything to see. It's an abandoned tea house. Larry turns to Kat and is like, okay, so now we've been in here. Have you seen enough? Can we leave now? And she's like, yeah, like, let me just look around a little bit more. But yeah, this seems like there's not really anything going on. And Larry's like, yeah, I do wonder, what happened to Mrs. Jirohei, because she wasn't ever seen again. I mean, people assume that she's dead. I guess she probably is and everything. And as he's sort of thinking to himself, Kat walks over to, there's like a narrow little doorway at the back of the kitchen that is completely swollen shut. She walks over to it. It's looks like a little storeroom or something like that. She walks over and she digs her nails into the seam along the door and starts trying to pull it open. He's like, what are you doing? She's like, it's the only place we haven't looked. Of course I'm going to look in there. He's like, don't look in there. Like, let's just leave instead. What if we just left instead?
Yeah.
And she's like, what if you helped me, actually? And so the two of them sort of haul this door open, and it takes a really long time because this door is completely swollen shut. And when it does swing open, it swings open hard. So Larry's standing behind Kat, and she stumbles back into him, and he has to catch her to steady her a little bit, which pisses her off to no end. And she like shrugs off his hand and is like, whatever, fine. And then she turns around and starts to look for something in her backpack. Larry shines the flashlight into the storeroom, and he sees something moving.
Mm-mm.
The head, shoulders, and upper torso of a woman twists in the floor and starts to pull itself out.
Ugh.
Like a swimmer climbing out of a pool. The woman has long black hair, bright red eyes, a snarling mouth, and a white kimono draped around her body. Larry is completely shocked as he watches her kind of, with great effort, try and pull herself out of the floor. It's almost like she's stuck in flypaper. It's not like there's a hole in the floor. It's like she's coming out of the floor. Mm-hmm. He passes the light over her, stops, and she looks up at him with these blood red eyes, and she opens her mouth as though to scream, and the only sound that comes out is the ticking of Death Watch beetles. Impossibly loud, amplified 1,000 times. And Larry realizes that while they were pulling on the door, the sound had stopped. And now it is back, and 1,000 times louder, and coming from the mouth of the most terrifying thing he's ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
Kat has her back turned and is looking through her backpack, and Larry, like, elbows her in the shoulder, and she's like, what? And then she turns around and is like, oh, okay. Sure. This thing is, like, crawling its way out in like an inhuman form, just like elbows at odd angles, trying to pull itself out of the floor. It's out to its waist now, and Larry can see that like the tattered white kimono it's in rough shape. It was clearly like a fine silk at one point, and now it has like rotted through. It looks like loose skin almost just hanging around her body. She's got a very, very thin frame, and the whole time she's making this sound, her curved and claw-like fingernails dig into the floor to give her purchase to pull herself out further. Kat and Larry look at each other and they run. As they are running down this hallway and away from this loud clicking sound, Larry gets the impression as they are running on either side in these little tea rooms, he imagines that he sees like ghostly white shapes moving in the darkness, but he does not give a fuck about that. He doesn't look into any of them. The only thing that he cares about is getting back to the front door and getting out. Mm-hmm. But they get to the end of the hallway and around a little crook, and they see the front door, and the front door is closed. And Kat is like, "We left that open." And Larry's like, "I know." They run to the door, and Kat immediately pulls out her crowbar and starts working at the door again. But it is swollen shut tighter than ever before. Larry is like scrabbling at the other side of the door, trying to pull on the doorknob. This sound, meanwhile, is getting louder behind them. Larry looks back and sees this pale figure of the woman dragging herself down the hallway with like a rough scraping sound. Mm-hmm. Kat is still trying to jam the crowbar into the crevice between the door, and she cannot get any purchase, and so she just drops it and is like, "I can't do it." And Larry is like, "Okay, well," and then he just starts punching the fuck out of the door. And these little splinters start flying off, but like the door itself is so completely solid that it doesn't move and it doesn't creak. It is sealed shut. The sound, meanwhile, is getting louder and louder behind them as this woman drags herself across the floor. Kat has the flashlight now because Larry's beating the shit out of the door, and she swings it down the hallway, and Larry hears her say, "Oh," and something in her voice makes him turn around. And he turns around, he looks down the hallway, and there's nothing there. And then he follows the flashlight beam up to the ceiling, where this figure is crawling spider-like across the ceiling towards them. Her head is twisted a full 180 degrees around so that she can look down at them on the floor while her claws sink into the ceiling of the tea house. She is very, very close behind them, and as Larry looks, she starts to extend one long, pale arm into the flashlight beam down towards them as though to grab them. Larry says, "Window," and runs at the window. Mm-hmm. There are these windows along both sides of the main tea room, and they're boarded up from the outside. They saw that when they came in, and the windows themselves are painted over with like rice paper. Larry bolts towards the window. He puts his hands over his head and dives through. The rice paper covered glass shatters and the boards break against the outside of the window. He lurches through the window and out, rolling across the sort of like wooden porch around the building. He gets up and looks back in the window, and he sees Kat running towards him, and he sees this thing behind her sort of hanging from the ceiling, and it strikes him that this ghost expression is a lot of things: hatred and rage predominantly, and eagerness.
Hunger.
Mm-hmm. Kat lunges towards the window. She sort of like tucks in as much as possible because there's still like broken glass and splinters and nails and everything around the window. She tucks and tries to dive through the window. She gets caught on a nail, and Larry is a couple of feet away, and he starts like moving forward to try and help her, and he's like moving as fast as he can, but it's kind of like slow time, so it feels like he's moving through soup. And he reaches out his hands to try and help her get out. And meanwhile, Kat is like trying to squirm free of the window. And then she looks up at him and she screams and she says, "She's got me. She's got me by the ankles." Mm-hmm. It hurts. Larry grabs onto her hand and like full body throws himself away from the window, pulling her through. He sees this like white spider-like hand emerging partway out the window, where he sees like welts beginning to form on Kat's ankle. They get up, and again, like slow time, as fast as they can. They start running down the stepping stone path out towards the entrance. Larry pauses for a moment and glances back, and they see this figure jump frog-like onto the windowsill, scramble out, and then start running towards them. All the time making this loud clicking sound from an open mouth with sharp teeth. Larry looks back at this and isn't looking where he's going, and his foot snags on a rock, and he falls face first on the stepping stone path. His chin hits another stone and completely dazes him. He is just stunned for a moment, and he lands on his chest and completely loses his breath. He hears the sound of the Death Watch beetle behind him getting closer and louder, and then in what feels like a second, he feels a weight land on his back and deep claws sink into the back of his jacket. Meanwhile, he looks up. He still can't really process. He's still very dazed, but he looks up and he sees Kat further down the path hear a sound, turn around and look at him, and then he sees her terror solidify into resolve, and she picks up a rock and starts heading back down the path, and he hears this creature on his back clicking loudly at her. And then he hears another sound. The sound of a bamboo flute starts to float across on the wind. He looks up and he realizes that where he's tripped is right near the cherry blossom tree, what's left of it. And he is kind of like, I must have hit my head really hard, because he sees an old man in a long white robe holding a bamboo flute sitting on one of the cherry blossom tree roots. And it looks, in the moonlight, this like warped, dead old tree. Something about the way the light is moving around it makes it look like it is in full bloom with pink flowers all over. And this very, very quiet flute music comes towards them on the wind. He feels the creature on top of him freeze, and he sees Kat hear the sound and look over, and he's like, okay, so I'm not crazy. The claws loosen their grip around his jacket, and the creature, sort of confused, steps off and away from Larry. Larry scrambles up to his hands and knees, and he sees this man look up from his flute. He stops playing, but there's still kind of like a whisper of the song on the wind and everything. But he looks up from his flute, and he looks furious. And he takes the bamboo flute and he points it like a wand at this creature. And Larry says that it's kind of like when a dog has like two conflicting commands and they just like tip their head back and forth. And he watches this creature, this like on all fours, pale, haggard, like mildewed creature, just sort of stop and look at the man and tilt its head in kind of confusion. And it like starts to take a half step towards the man, and the man like angrily gestures with the flute at it again. And then this breeze comes through, and it's like an unseasonably warm breeze that comes through past the cherry blossom tree. It carries the smell of the cherries to where Larry and Kat are, and it passes through towards this figure of the woman. And as it gets to her, it is as though it is 1,000 times stronger than it is. It is like a gale force wind, and it blows her all the way back towards the tea house and back in through the window. The sound of the Death Watch beetles stops. Larry turns around and he sees this figure of the old man stop, smile, and disappear like mist. Kat rushes over to Larry and grabs him by the shoulders, helps him get up. And the two of them just cling to each other for a little while, terrified. Fair. Yeah. Kat is like, I don't know what just happened. And he's like, I don't know, but I think that was Mr. and Mrs. Jirohei. And Kat's like, I thought that they loved each other. What just happened? And Larry thinks about it and he says, they did. And their real souls are probably somewhere happy together. But the anger that she had stayed here, and the love that he had stayed here. And I think they kind of cancel each other out a little bit.
Not enough.
Not enough. And Kat's like, that is dumb, but I guess it makes sense. I'm going to say that's fine. And he's like, I'm
fine with it too.
Yeah, that sounds good. And Larry's like, I could sleep for a week. And she's like, I could sleep for a month. And he's like, great, let's go to bed. And Larry's like, I think I want and he starts talking, and then they hear a sound, and both of them turn to the tea house, and they hear like a quiet clinking sound. And as they watch, a white spider-like hand comes over the broken window, knocking a piece of glass out on the way. And they start to see this figure haul itself back up.
Oh, God.
And Kat says, oh, she's not gone. And Larry is like, yeah, well, I mean, she's clearly weakened, but like, not gone.
Yeah.
Not gone.
Not defeated.
Could be goner. And the two of them turn around and run as fast as they can down the path, out of the garden. They hear kind of the like quiet clicking sound start up behind them again, but they do not stop and they do not look back. They get to the gate, and Larry, without a second thought, just kicks it open, and they run out of the park. They don't stop until they get all the way to the bus stop by the front gate. The two of them are kind of covered in cold sweat, panting underneath of the street lamp at the park's entrance next to the bus. And after what's probably 30 seconds, but feels like an hour, the huge shape of a bus they see it come around the corner towards them. Larry grabs Kat's hand, and they both walk onto the bus together. They sort of like hollowed out with fear, they both just flash their bus passes at this driver, and the bus driver says, "Hey, you kids okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." And they laugh and laugh.
I bet they didn't.
The end.
I'm happy that they didn't drop all their stuff and leave their bus passes in the house. That could have so easily happened to them.
Yeah, for sure.
That was so spooky.
Isn't that good?
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Good job, Max.
Thanks. I really liked that story.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I really liked, I don't know, it felt very rich to me. I love the description of like the smell of like rotting race straw and of like the wet tatami mats and everything like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of visceral things happening in it. Like it really put you into the story. I also really, really enjoy the fact that she was not defeated by that. And there's also always going to be the fear for them, I think, of her finding them.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think they'll ever be okay again.
For sure. I also kind of like, I like that this story doesn't have like a super firm resolution. It's not like, and they went to the city and they were like, there's a ghost in there and the city demolished it or something like that.
No.
It's, they're like, we're kids. We went in there and we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And we got out alive. And that's literally all that matters right now.
Yeah. That was also the scariest descriptions of ghosts I think I've ever heard. It was very spooky.
Very, very scary.
Yeah, that was like movie. That was like cinematic.
Yeah, it felt very cinematic as I was reading. I'm glad that it came across as I was telling it too. Because,
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Spooky.
I love it. I also love the blending of sort of like traditional Japanese story elements, and like this, a lot of the yokai stories that we tell have very similar elements, and also like the styles and the like visual things within the story that are very traditionally Japanese, combined with the fact that these are like two like rad 90s teens.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was thinking too, is that it has a very much like, it's just cool to see two modern day kids interacting with this kind of old world horror. Yeah.
I also really appreciate, this is a dumb thing, and there are obviously like other ways to do this, but I appreciate that it kind of acknowledges the Japanese American component of it, where this might be weird, but like I feel like if it was just two white kids and they were like, let's go into the haunted tea house, I'd be like, yeah. But this is kind of like, there is a certain cultural thing of like, it is a weird displacement of a culture from where it's from to like a park in the middle of a city. Yeah. And I think that is a really cool it adds a lot of dimension to this, and like the way that Larry is like, okay, obviously I'm going to watch a lot of YouTube videos about this, but I'm also going to talk to like my elderly Japanese neighbors who knew them. And
He
I don't know.
probably wasn't YouTubing back then, though, if it was in the 90s. I thought this when you said it. I was like, maybe it was actually 2000, like the 2000s.
I think it was actually the 2000s, because I do feel like...
I'm trying to remember when Xbox was made and when YouTube became a thing. I don't think YouTube became a thing until like 2005.
Oh, it didn't say YouTube. It says, on television shows or websites devoted to the strange, the occult, and the unexplained.
Now, that does sound very 90s. Like the idea of going onto chat rooms and stuff. But yeah, I don't think we started really YouTubing stuff until like 2012. And I think that it was probably like invented around 2005. That's my guess.
I started YouTubing like 2009, I think.
When was YouTube created? Oh, February 14th, 2005. Woo!
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, YouTube. Interesting.
Yeah. I also like, I don't know, I think it's very cool that it's not like this creature that's living in the house. It's like this creature that is the house until it's disturbed.
Oh, yeah, it coming out of the floorboards. Yeah. Upsetting. It makes me wonder, where was her body? Like, where did that go?
Yeah.
Did she
die
by suicide?
Or did she just become part of the tea house? You know?
Yeah. And it's like a real monster house situation.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a real monster house situation.
I think we have a real monster house situation for sure.
I gotta say, this one's a real monster house situation.
Let us know if you've ever been in a monster house situation. Excellent job, Max.
Thank you. I'm going to be thinking about this one for a while. It was so scary.
I'm going to go onto our Discord really quickly.
Yeah.
And see if people have wishes. Do you want me to read them out to you and see if... Or do you want to both read them out?
You can pitch them to me if you want.
I'll pitch them to you. I might jump in, but...
Yeah.
Midnight Mouse to Georgia says, I wish to be content with my life circumstances for the rest of my life. That was a mistake, Midnight Mouse. I already know how Max is going to destroy this one.
Yeah. They're going to make your life real bad.
No, content with your life circumstances until for the rest of your life. You're going to die tomorrow. You're going to have one happy night.
Yeah. I mean, any time that it's like for the rest of your life, the rest of your life is going to be
really content for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're going to be super content, but in circumstances that will actively destroy you. Like, you're going to be super, super content with having, I guess, like the first confirmed case of double bubonic plague and also fucking typhoid fever.
Yeah.
Super happy though, so congrats.
Mayor Chicken Leg says, I wish to spread happiness and positivity.
Mindless positivity. People won't be able to experience any kind of alternate emotions, and that will lead to a completely dystopian nightmare society.
I think that this is going to be like the catch that a lot of drugs have, where you're going to spread a lot of happiness and positivity because you're going to give something that spikes a lot of like hormones, but it's going to deplete those hormones really fast, and it's going to make people addicted to what you give them, and it's going to eventually cause the downfall of society as we know it.
If you want to see a movie that does that really well, Serenity. That's part of, I guess, spoilers for Serenity, but that's part of the plot, and it's horrifying, and I think about it all the time.
Faith says, God, I can already tell you guys, you're bad at this. Faith says, I wish to end world hunger.
Kill hungry people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Sorry, now all hungry people are dead. I hope you're happy.
Sorry.
Bob White says, I wish I could talk to the dead.
You'd be dead.
Well, congratulations, you're dead now.
Yeah, you're dead.
You can't talk to the living.
Also, I mean, you can talk to the dead now. They just won't talk back.
Faith says, I wish that dogs could tell you how they feel. You're going to get a lot of political rants from a lot of conservative dogs, I hate to tell you.
Yeah. And also, I feel like you're going to learn things you don't want to know. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you fully grant that wish, like, in good faith, I just feel like that's not...
Yeah, you don't need to hear what... There's a reason why you can't hear what dogs
But also,
feel.
You could be like, yeah, now you can hear what dogs think, but you can't communicate with human beings anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Mother of Worm says, I wish to make people smile. You're about to have the most embarrassing day of your life. They're going to laugh at your expense.
Well, yeah, but also, I mean, what's that fucking horror... Is it just called Smile? That horror movie of, like,
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's scary specifically because of the acting and the like weird inhuman smiles that everyone puts on. It's fucking terrifying. Not in that it's an especially well conceived horror movie, but just in the sense that it is like primal fear of like a deeply unnatural expression on a person's face. Yeah, but like making people smile, that's like most of the Joker's plots also.
That's true. Jai says goals and dreams to be achieved.
That's your own or everyone's?
That's how it was worded. Goals and dreams to be achieved.
Okay, some people's goal is like
murder.
Thanks
Genocide. A lot, Jai. You just made Hitler 2.0.
Oh no.
Mother of Worm says, I wish to hear and understand all animals as speech I hear in my head.
You go crazy. You hear all of them all at the same time, and it drives you to madness almost instantly.
They never stop. You have not a moment of silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad wish. Sorry we're judging you guys so much.
Sorry, guys. The moral of the story is that all wishes are bad.
Yeah, that's the point of the monkey's paw.
Nora, except for mine. I'm different.
Nora Cecily says, I wish for endless creativity and motivation. And you never sleep again.
And you never sleep again. There's a really good H.P. Lovecraft short story about that. The Violinist. Which is one of my favorites. Yeah.
God.
Max
told me that one in the kitchen, and it ruined my life.
It's so good.
You should tell it on the podcast, not just to me in the kitchen.
I guess.
You know, guys, we do this when we're not on mic, too.
It's terrifying. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like the curse of the muse. That's also something that's in a lot of like classical stories.
Scribble says, I wish to share my love of writing with the world. God, we got a lot of wishes. People really have a lot of wishes.
To share my love of writing with the world.
That doesn't mean that you're going to be writing stuff, though. I know that the implication is that Scribble is writing things and, like, sharing their writing.
But the phrasing is, here's the there are a couple of different ways this could go, which is why I'm hesitating. It could be, okay, you're sharing your love of writing with the world, and now everyone, everywhere, is constantly writing.
Ooh.
Also, though, the terminology of share, it could mean that you no longer enjoy writing because the total mass of enjoying writing that you have is split between you and every other person in humanity. There's just a lot of ways this one could go wrong. Not necessarily in a cataclysmic way, but in a way that's a huge bummer.
Odious Toad says, I wish dogs lived as long as humans.
Everyone dies immediately.
Yeah, people die in 14 years now.
Yeah, in a day.
I hope that you've married and had children by the time you're 12. Yeah. Because that's about the lifespan you're going to get with a dog.
Sorry.
Pumpkin Maiden says, I wish I could own every book I've ever wanted.
They all fall on you from space and you're crushed to death.
They all fall on your head like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Renee says, I wish for my favorite shows to not be canceled all the time.
They keep going and they're awful. They get supernatural.
They get supernatural. They get X-Filed.
Ugh.
They get lost.
Yeah.
Leap Yeep says, I wish that anytime you wanted to hang out with long-distance friends, your schedules just always match up. So that just means...
But you still have to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, long-distance friends, so you have no money to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's taking away something. You have to actually grant the wish. So the wish is granted.
The wish is granted. I feel like there are a lot of ways that could go wrong, though. Of like, it could be... okay, you both have free time, but you still have to travel. Or, okay, you both have free time whenever the other one has free time. So now you both have endless free time and you can't get anything done. And that's what ADHD is.
Ooh, actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Is that
you have your free... like, I have my free time because I'm a teacher. But if they suddenly get free time during the summer, it probably means they lost their job.
Yeah.
They don't want that free time. Good Luck Book Fairy says, I wish to travel the world.
You get whipped around the world at high speed and your body is sundered by the velocity of your travel through the atmosphere. Sorry.
Chucky Sly is filling this out for us. I wish for sleep or a kitten. Totally fine if I don't wake up.
That's a good wish.
Then you get it. Juffalo Jill said, it is not fine if you don't wake up. And Chucky Sly said, shh, I'm so tired.
No, but okay. If I wanted to fuck that one up, though,
do it.
You would go to sleep, and then you would get a kitten, and then the kitten would starve because you're dead.
Are you happy your kitten's dead because you were so sleepy?
Are you happy, Chucky Sly?
Jeffalo Jill says, I wish I had money. Not enough to be rich and snobby, but like enough to be comfy and not worried about money all the time.
I mean, we already heard this one. The monkey's paw.
That's true. You're going to get it. Yeah. Oh, Jeffalo Jill. I'm not even going to say that out loud. That story freaked me out. Tori B says, I wish for more pudding cups.
Thousands of pounds of pudding cups drop on you from space and crush you to death instantly.
All of the pudding cups. You're going to be sick of. You're going to have a never-ending supply of pudding cups shooting out of your fridge and filling up your house until you drown in pudding cups.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys, for letting us ruin your wishes. That was really fun.
Janey, do you have
a monkey's paw wish?
I would let
You would let me have a wish and wouldn't ruin it for me because we're pals?
No.
Oh.
That's not genie rules, Janey. Do you have a wish that you think is paw proof?
Well, that's good. I saw somebody playing this online, and his monkey's paw wish, he did it where he was like, okay, I wish all pedophiles would disappear. And the other person was like, good, all pedophiles are invisible now. That made me laugh.
Oh, no.
Do I have a wish that's paw proof? No. I really can't think of a single thing that I would wish for. I mean, I know that if I'm just wishing for myself, I would wish to be like financially secure, you know?
Because I died, Janey.
I see, and then now
because
I know.
I died.
And now I know. Am I your beneficiary? Am I a beneficiary?
Probably.
No, we'll have to see that. Do I get your money?
I think so.
God, Savannah gets my money, but she doesn't need it. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Just like Jeff Jill, all my wishes are all financial. So I guess I wish the podcast does really well. But if the podcast does really well, then more people listen to it, and I get in trouble for saying way back when that I was going to pregnancy trap a bunch of senators.
Way back when?
Last year. Last year when I said I was going to pregnancy trap John McCain. Not John McCain.
Mike Pence?
Yeah.
No. Maybe.
Way back when I said I was going to pregnancy
trap.
trap.
Oh God, what's his
Ted
name?
Cruz.
The Turtle Man.
Oh, Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
I don't know.
One of those.
Maybe
all of those.
I've said a lot of things that I don't need like a huge number of people to listen to.
We're a few more people would be good, but
would love it if the Patreon would kick off so more people could hang out with us on Discord and ask us all these questions. Would not love it if more people could listen to me say I was going to pregnancy trap Mitch McConnell and tell my mom. So, I'm in like a weird spot.
That's fair.
Yeah. Do you have a monkey's paw witch?
Yes.
What?
Listen.
Okay.
There's a lot of semantics to this one.
Okay.
But that's technically not against the rules.
All right.
I wish that every person was given the opportunity and capacity to improve their circumstances in a way that does not harm other people, either emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, and that those opportunities were available to them as their goals and intentions changed so that it would continue to be the possibility of growth and further happiness, again, to the point and not beyond that it infringes on other people's growth and happiness.
Okay, so you could, for instance, have somebody be like, this is what I need in the moment, and I have good intentions with it, but then eventually they have so much stuff that they become like, they don't need that wishing. So what I'm saying is you could have somebody who improves their situation and ends up becoming a billionaire, and then they're the next Elon Musk, and like that, they don't need that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Does it all go away if they use it for bad? Is that part of your wish? Or if they turn out that what they have gained in their circumstances is now being used for evil, that it just disappears for them? If
it's being used to the detriment of other people's safety and security and happiness, then yes.
And it just goes away. Or the wish just stops working. Because I'm going to say, if it just stops working, then by the time you're a billionaire, you're making money on your own, I
would say that it goes away. I realize that this is something that would have to be included in the wish, and this is a good thing to point out. I would also point out, though, that I don't care if people are billionaires, if everyone's a billionaire, because the problem with billionaires is that their existence is harmful to everyone else in the world.
And if everyone's a billionaire, no one is. I don't know about that one. I feel like the monkey's paw might punish you. You might go to genie jail for being too
specific.
Nitpicky. Straight to genie jail. All right, guys.
You gotta make your wish in 100 characters or less.
Yeah, there's a word limit for sure. Guys, if you want to chat with us or tell us what your genie wish would be, or your paw wish that you think is paw proof, you can
Send us some paw proof wishes.
send us some paw proof wishes. You can text them to us through the link in our bio, and I will most likely share those on our Instagram stories, and maybe we'll try to ruin them, or we'll let other people ruin them. That may be fun.
Yeah. I will also happily offer any critique if you are interested. I can go through and tell you how I would ruin your genie wish, and then together we can create a truly paw-proof genie wish, I think, through collaborative effort.
Max is an attorney who has a specialty in paw law, so definitely reach out to her before you make any legally binding agreements with a monkey's paw.
Or a genie.
Or a genie, for sure. Don't end up in genie jail. Call Max. So yeah, send us a text and I'll put some of your answers up on our Instagram stories. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok by going to @sortofthestory. You can email us with some of your thoughts at sortofthestory@gmail.com. You can join our Discord for just $3 and chat with us all about it. And the next time that we do prompts like this, you can be involved in it. We do them every month for the bonus episodes and it's always a blast. And plus, if we do any like movie nights and stuff like that, then we go to the Discord always for hangouts. So join us with that. It's very fun. Go to our website, www.sortofthestory.com, for a full list of all of our stories, and rate and review this podcast 5 stars. Give us 5 spooky stars. And in your review, tell us what you would wish for in your monkey's paw scenario. Okay. We love you, and we will see you next month in November.
Happy Halloween!
Grim Reaper and Scary Santa are gonna go make a sandwich.
Promise?
Goodbye. Tell them goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. I thought the mwaha was the goodbye.
No, I also did. I said bye and I mwaha.
Fine, mwahaha, goodbye.
Okay, bye.
I'm a part of a Facebook group called
Game Changer Shitposting?
Yes, maybe?
Sam Posting.
Sam Posting. I'm a part of like 3 different groups. One of them specifically for Dimension 20. One of them is for Game Changer. And then one of them is Sam Posting After Dark. Which is... which is like the, like... Ooh.
Ooh. Spooky, sexy.
Yeah, spooky, sexy is what it is.
Yeah, that's my brand.
But one of them... there's an episode of Game Changer where Izzy, the effect that she proposes is buttholes.
Yeah.
And then Brennan, her husband, says, the lady said, butthole, Sam. And now that whole group, people will just see something that kind of looks like a butthole and they'll just repost it in the group with no context whatsoever. And every comment underneath it will be like, the lady said butthole, Sam! God, these are my people.
Yeah, that's good. They can all come over and watch Twilight.
Yeah, they'll just like, someone will just post no comment whatsoever. They'll just repost a picture of like some like, I don't know, like maple glazed donuts that are like a little bit overinflated.
Yeah.
And they'll just post no comment into Sam posting. Everyone's like, the lady said butthole, Sam.
Good. There's a new makeup trend. It's not new. It was new like a month or 2 ago.
Buttholes?
It's butthole lips.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am 100% being serious, and I'm so sorry to be the one to inform you of this. It's an influencer trend where you overline your lips with a brown lip liner, and then you put like pink on the inside, and there's like a whole thing, and they're like, and then you put a gloss over them, and it looks like a big glossy butthole. And everyone that tried it were like, I'm really upset that this looks so good. Why did they name it this? To be mean to me? Because I'm doing it now from now on, but I'm not happy about it.
God, Freud would have a fucking field day.
Butthole lips. Like, at this point, we have gone too far. We should ban TikTok.
You know what?
Yeah.
Arrest all teens.
Hey, teens, you're going to jail.